A destiny to rule the stars. The Tau continued to push their realm outwards at an explosive rate, although losses were high amongst these early explorers. Not only did space travel and new and unusual environments take their toll, but as they ventured further from their home world, the Tau also began to encounter alien beasts, many of which proved a grave threat to the process of colonization.
That's a cool quote about the Tau to bring us in, viewership.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Tau don't have any kind of like psychers, do they, or anything?
No, so they're one of these like strange races. Despite extensive experimentation on Tau prisoners, the Imperium can detect no latent psychic ability in the Tau race.
Yeah, because it's only basically only like the Necrons, I think, are the only other race that have absolutely no signature in the warp.
So there is like a theory, and I looked this up again after our last session, but there's a theory amongst some 40k fans that the Tau are Necronitor.
Ah!
So when you look at the Necron like physiology, they're they destroyed a Predator. That's bad news.
That is bad news.
The Necrons have like kind of strange elongated skulls, like, comparable to what Tau have got. They have no warp signature, which is also true of Tau. So it's theorized by some 40k fans that like the Tau are like a lost Necronitor world that were in a state of arrested evolution.
Except that, they clearly don't have the Necronis's like 15-year lifespan or like whatever it was, which caused them to, do everything that happened with the Catan.
Yeah, well, the Tau have short lifespans, so it's not really spelled out exactly how much, but they are a short-lived race.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that they're seen to have developed so quickly is that they live short, fast lives.
Yeah, again, that was the Necrons thing as well. That they pushed
very similar
for technology to yeah. That's really
as
cool,
we discussed, not dissimilar to the Solarians in Mass Effect.
Yeah. I always think it's quite a cool concept that more sci-fi stuff should explore the idea of like races with shorter lifespans, because normally you have like the elf idea of like immortal races that like man always feels like sad because they kind of live forever, but the opposite is also quite interesting as well.
It's something that fantasy I think explores better. So one of the reasons that like most of the time in fantasy novels humans are the great civilization of the age, partly because like it's more relatable for human readers to read about a human protagonist. Yeah. But also, like, I think the way they explain it is like dwarves have got like 500 years of life in them. Elves can live indefinitely, so they don't feel compelled to make use of the time in the way that humans do. So I think
there's certainly a thing early Tolkien's, as in within Tolkien's own world, like Silmarillion era. What the fuck are we going here? Where like elves are actually envious of men because they feel like men get shit done and like really live their lives that like men live more in 80 years than some elves do in 800. And they're both are envious of the other for their lifespan.
Which always weirds me out a little bit. It's like, Elrond could have got more shit done. He could have got a lot of shit done.
There's a whole thing in one of the books that like elves kind of like in equal parts love but are like made really sad by the sound of like children, especially children like laughing. Because apparently just children are just like rare among the elves for whatever reason. They never really say what their reproductive rate is, but it's assumed it must be somewhat lower because there aren't infinite elves.
It's something that like we'll talk about it more when we get to the Eldar missions, who are basically space elves in 40k. But like the elves are a race of beautiful, immortal people. They should be boning down constantly because they're all gorgeous, and they have literally nothing better to do, according to Tolkien.
Yeah. But yeah, the idea of like humans being the apex civilization is really rare in sci-fi. It's always like, how does humanity interact with,
a technologically superior adversary.
So, do you know the concept known as what's it called in real life? It's the Great Filter. Does that mean anything to you?
It doesn't, but tell me about it.
So, it's a solution to the phrase the Fermi paradox. Mean anything to you?
I know who Fermi is. Was he an Italian scientist?
Yes. So the Fermi paradox is the idea of no matter how you slice the mathematics, you can make incredibly like pessimistic estimates for everything. The chances of there being planets like with intelligent life is alarmingly high. Because yes, it could be 1 in a million, but there are billions and billions of like planets. But we've seen no signs of intelligent life. The Fermi paradox is that, which basically says, why is that not the case? And one of them is the idea of the Great Filter. So basically, there's a reason why that is, which is that something makes it difficult. So you get one type, it might be the Great Filter is that life in a kind of cellular sense is common, but complex multicellular life even is rare, let alone intelligent life. or it's like, species wipe themselves out in nuclear war before they become, spacefaring, so we never come across them that way. But one of the more horrifying examples of the Great Filter is there's two concepts. One is humanity has not got to the Great Filter yet. A lot of people think that we'll wipe ourselves out with nuclear war or infighting before we actually ever spread to the stars. But the scarier interpretation is that we've passed the Great Filter. That actually will be one of the first, if not the first race in at least local areas to reach space, and we're the most advanced civilization.
Yeah, I heard
which
this
is horrifying.
I've heard this cut both ways actually. That either we are late to the party, as in there has been a great interstellar community that has come before us and since died out, and that we are the new sentient life in the stars, or we are the first. We will be
which is
generations from now.
In some way, yeah.
We heard of the Dark Forest analogy.
I mean that's very 40k.
Yeah, it's. I think again, 40k draws from a lot of popular science fiction and but there's something called similar to the Fermi paradox, I suppose. It's called the Dark Forest analogy, that every spacefaring civilization ought to be like a hunter in a dark forest. So you should constantly mask your own movements and be constantly ready to fire on another hunter if you see him, because the threat to your civilization is untold. So a completely alien race, even a cursory contact with them would fundamentally alter your civilization. So that if you encounter one, the path of least resistance is always to destroy it.
Yeah.
And that as we start to explore the stars as a species, we ought to be very, very cautious.
Because others might well be, just following that, yeah.
Correct.
They seem to Sorry, just go on. I was about to say.
Which is very depressing, you say.
I was going to say, they seem to do a lot of retribution in this. As soon as I clear out an objective or something like that, there's immediately a fairly heavy counter-strike. That seems to be what they do.
I think they have 3 streams of attacks. So I think they launch attacks from their central base, and they launch attacks from each of their 2 secondary command posts.
Crush them all now. Let's find out. But man, this world is still going.
I think we can push on and take the final base.
Well, we're going to push forward to it soon anyway, so we've got a pretty decent force here.
Yeah, this is about as good as we're going to get.
Yep.
I like that we still have a rear guard. We could maybe put some of the rear guard into the drop pods if we wanted to. Maybe some missiles.
Yeah, that might be wise, actually. I'm just getting ready.
I just like it when the pods come down. It's just cool.
It's cool as fuck.
I like that as we've become more adept with the Space Marines, and we've talked a lot about Space Marines as the game has gone on, folks. And we've got a couple of things left to say, I think, before the end of tonight's recording session. But we like to think we've tried to discuss the other races more, and the way they wage war, and real world analogies.
Well, yes, because we always, obviously, because with them, we'll inevitably circle back to Marines briefly.
Yeah. We spoke in the previous episode, though, or maybe the previous episode, maybe this episode, it depends how this gets edited, but the notion of ranking in Tau society, where everyone, no matter what your facet of society, you are ranked relative to other people, and how that's directly compatible with medieval Japanese society, but also with Confucian technology, which is the Chinese notion.
Do you mean philosophy?
Yes, what did I say?
Technology.
Oh, sorry.
Fascinating.
Oh, excuse me. Technology is the opposite of philosophy, really. What's the really good expression that without an engineer, a scientist is a mere philosopher? Implying that philosophy is garbage. And as a sort of philosopher, that's probably true.
It's an interesting thing, though, how science has, by and large, stopped being, natural philosophy that it always kind of was.
Yeah,
that's far less of a thing nowadays.
One of my favourite stories about science is in the novel Frankenstein, arguably one of the most famous scientists in literature, Victor Frankenstein.
You mean Frankenstein isn't the name of the monster?
You're hilarious.
How to wind up English majors. There we go.
But Victor Frankenstein doesn't call himself a scientist because the term scientist came after the writing of the novel Frankenstein.
Yeah, I know, it's very recent.
Victor Frankenstein is explicitly a natural philosopher. He doesn't call himself a scientist, which is so strange that he's the archetypal image of the mad scientist.
But he's older than that, yeah.
Yeah, he predates the term scientist.
Well, same with Darwin and stuff like that. None of them would have used the phrase scientist. It's rare.
So I read a book about cows recently, Doctor, which was actually really good.
That's a fascinating one-line opener right there.
But So like my partner, like among, as well as being a vet, which I think has been discussed on the channel before, like she also is a farmer, so she keeps cows. They have this weird like cow master race that they've got, which is really strange. But so I read a book about cows.
Your partner is a cow fascist, is what I understand.
Yeah, pretty much actually. As in, like, she's not a fascist, but she does keep cows, and her cows are allegedly better than the other cows.
Well, I don't like that, but yeah.
The way this is relevant to Darwin, right? I read a book recently, and one of the few sources that Darwin himself cites is the work of an 18th century cow breeder, who was the first guy to hit upon the notion of selective breeding.
Yeah, a lot of stuff comes from cow breeding and pigeon fancying, which is the same concept but for pigeons.
Yeah, so this guy, this cow farmer.
That was thick.
This looks really cool, but our Marines are getting slaughtered.
Yeah, no, we're not actually. No, I just dropped load in, but unfortunately, I dropped them into exterminatus.
Can we word of the Emperor some of them? Because our Marines
that's a great question. Where's my librarian? No, my special librarian is dead. I'm gonna load these guys into the drop pod as well.
I think we might lose this, Doctor.
Nah, we're doing fine.
Not the whole map, just this initial assault might be repulsed, because that's a lot of firepower they have up there.
That is, but we're doing fine. And these are all honor guard units, so these are like Chess Okaisa's stuff. And mostly the main reason is because everyone's not actually properly pushing forward. If they did, this wouldn't be a problem, but that ain't happened for various fucking stupid reasons, so...
Well, what's our other librarian? The Scar Predators up there.
Yep, I know,
anyway,
they should be up there, but they're not, and this is part of the problem. Longinus is still there.
The reason I mentioned the cow farming is like this. I think he was in the 18th century. This 18th century cow farmer was the first to realise that if you bred cows with desirable traits together, then they produced offspring that had those traits.
Yeah.
And he's one of the very few sources that Darwin cites in The Origin of Species to be like, oh yeah, I would never have been able to get my results without the work of this cow farmer from like Northumberland, like 80 years ago.
Yeah, Darwin's various streams of evidence are really interesting. One of them just being, there aren't infinite animals. Seems like a really obvious one, but it's basically clearly more animals are born than survive because there aren't infinite animals. Yeah. Therefore, something is killing them. Yeah, no, we're doing badly here. You're right. Oh, Vespers, hello.
We're going to have to make a second attempt at this.
Absolutely.
I'd say like a second attempt at this assault.
Yeah.
Like we've overpowered some of their buildings and things. That was rough.
Yeah, not quite done yet, but soon. So I'm gonna hopefully...
There's so much of it.
Yeah. But I'm guessing these ones with the special thing around their feet presumably don't come back.
There's Chazo Case.
Oh yeah. I was kind of on my eye out for the ethereal.
I've been saying Case, but like the game seems to call him Case.
Yeah.
At least this force that we're fighting stays stationary.
Yeah.
So like Shaz O Kais, as we keep calling him, like O being the highest possible military rank, Shaz being the caste that he belongs to, the fire caste, O being the highest rank within a caste. But the notion of Tau philosophy is very Confucian, as we spoke about. So like Confucian technology, I keep saying technology! I meant to say philosophy. Anyway, regardless, the notion of like Tau philosophy draws on a lot from Confucian philosophy. So
yeah,
the idea that like everyone is subordinate to somebody but superior to someone else. There's a grand hierarchy and you fit precisely into that hierarchy is a distinctly kind of Chinese Confucian notion that, again, Tau draw on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about this, Doctor, that like they basically borrow the culture of real world nations and kind of mash lots of things together to get Tau. So we have like the Indian caste system, we have like Confucian hierarchy, we have like Platonic notions of like virtue as to how a society is effective or not effective, and they kind of mash all of this together into one science fiction race.
I think it's kind of cool. It lends a believability to the race because everything, all its constituent parts are real in some way.
Yeah. So I suppose the drawback is like it somewhat belittles the cultures that it's drawing from. So yeah, I don't know. If I was a Confucian scholar, a Chinese Confucian scholar, and I read about Tau, would I be offended? I don't know. I'm not a Confucian scholar.
I would have left a fucking... No.
How long has that Land Raider been there?
Why do you ask difficult questions?
God fucking damn it! Did we leave that Land Raider sitting there?
Not that long. It only will have appeared when the first vehicle died in that final assault.
Hang on while I sigh louder.
Nah, that's fair. Well, at least our senior librarian is the one that survived, which means we can still make a second librarian.
I don't want to seem like I'm a grand military strategist, but leaving your most powerful tank back at home
It wasn't
base,
quite there, in my defense.
I'm just winding you up. I think we'll come back from this. We'll just be more methodical with our attack.
I think the issue was a lot of people just didn't go up the stairs simultaneously, and we kind of like outflanked ourselves. Oh, right. Do I lose my Land Raider if I lose the relic?
No.
Excellent.
Like, units that have been built stay built. We just can't build another Land Raider.
That's fine.
Whilst we're at a lull viewership, tell us in the comments how you enjoying the last run of episodes. We've talked a lot about philosophy and about military history yet again. Maybe you're here for that, maybe you're not. Let us know in the comments how you're enjoying. This is probably going to be our final installment, but like, give us your thoughts on the series as a whole. Like,
yeah,
have you enjoyed the RTS element? Do you like the format of the Doctor playing the game and me just talking nonsense as he actually tries to win? Let us know in the comments.
For technological reasons, that's way easier than the other way around.
Yeah, probably. Although I can take command, I'm going to take these Space Marines out. Do you see that? These Space Marines over here?
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to run up. Oh, no.
Yep,
Nope.
Look at what you've done.
they were lined up so pretty. But let us know in the comments, viewership, like, what about the series have you enjoyed, and we can use that to make future videos and to bring you the content you like.
So yeah, I'm happy for you to drive when I'm doing the boring shit. Just building back up.
And can build Thule back.
Yeah, he's in the list from the Chapel Barracks.
Outstanding.
I should probably just build another Chapel Barracks.
It doesn't hurt.